get this. So apparently Seymour Hersh, he's the journalist that uncovered the Nord Stream pipeline story, the Nord Stream bombing and all that kind of stuff. Well, now he has uncovered something else. It appears that Seymour Hersh, he wrote an article. I saw it this weekend, and you got to hear about this. Apparently, there was some sabotage that happened between Joe Biden and Barack Obama leading up to Joe Biden deciding not to run for re-election. And you have got to hear this. We're going to start with this clip here from RT. Let's go ahead and bring this bad boy in.
Did Barack Obama work behind the scenes to ensure Joe Biden wouldn't run for president again? That's the bombshell expose from Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hersh, who claims Biden's former ally sought to get Biden swapped out for Kamala Harris ahead of November's election. One of the more notable but unconfirmed findings reveals that a threat to invoke a constitutional amendment made up President Biden's mind.
By Saturday, July 20th, former President Barack Obama was deeply involved, and there was talk that he would place a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Las Vegas. On Sunday morning, the official told me, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others to be unfit to carry out the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties."
Okay, so let's get into the article here from Seymour Hersh. Now, let's dive in here a little bit. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. This is why I wanted to use it there. So we're going to just fast forward a little bit here. He starts off talking about who didn't know that Biden was failing, and we all knew there was some difficulty that was happening there. I mentioned it during the 2020 debates, that kind of thing. But I want to start with this part right about here. After the debate, there was mounting pressure on Biden to drop out. The White House and the president himself denied that he was suffering from anything more than a bad day, a cold, and jet lag. So we all remember that, right? Fast forward, Monday, July 15th, Biden took off on the Air Force One on a campaign trip to Nevada, and a toss-up state that Biden won in 2020 by a little more than 30,000 votes. On Tuesday, he gave the keynote address to 5,000 members of the NAACP. The next day, the president, apparently stricken while campaigning with a yet-to-be-revealed illness, broke from his schedule and made a police escort race to Air Force One after initially telling police they were heading to the nearest emergency room. Now, let's fast forward. They announced that he obviously got the Rona. Fast forward here, right about here. He was said to have upper respiratory symptoms, a runny nose, a cough, and was fatigued. That was the last straw for a core group of congressional leaders, government officials, and some Biden funders who were withholding huge amounts of committed contributions. So this is where the donor class comes in and they start to make their complaints, right? So remember, they control the politicians. There was pressure on donors to come across on their pending commitments, the official told me. It was understood that Biden had a physical problem in Las Vegas, and the family was saying no to continued pressure from donors and senior Democrats in Congress to withdraw from the presidential campaign. So again, this is to reiterate that Biden did not want to step down. This is important because Saturday, July 20th, Barack Obama was deeply involved. There was talk that he would place a call to Biden. It was not clear whether Biden had been examined or just what happened to him in Las Vegas. The big three, the official said, referring to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, continued to be directly involved. On Sunday morning, the official told me, with the approval of Pelosi and Schumer, Obama called Biden after breakfast and said, "Here's the deal. We have Kamala's approval to invoke the 25th Amendment." Again, they had Kamala's approval. So remember, for this, if you have the vice president's approval, then technically the president is supposed to step aside. So Kamala gave the okay. Let's go on. The amendment provides that when the president is determined by the vice president and others to be unfit to carry out the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall assume those duties. So, if they got the approval from Kamala Harris to carry out the 25th Amendment, technically, Kamala should be in charge right now in that position, handling those duties, not Joe Biden. Let's go on. Hey. It was clear at this point, the official said, that she would get the nod. That is, the support to run for presidency in the November election. But Obama also made it clear, the official said, that he was not going to immediately endorse her. What, fam? So when Obama made that call to Joe Biden and said that Kamala has given the approval to give the 25th Amendment, he also told him he was not going to immediately endorse her. Everybody following this? Okay, that's important because it goes on to say, but the group had decided that her work as a prosecutor would help her deal with Trump in a debate. One possible drawback, I was told, was Harris's sometimes disdain for the work of the U.S. intelligence community. She's known not to be especially interested in the president's daily brief, a highly classified summary of current intelligence that is prepared overnight by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and delivered by hand to the most vital offices in Washington, including the vice president's. The document, which includes signals intelligence, is to be read by the addressee in the presence of delivering intelligence officer. Now we want to jump ahead here. A key factor in the decision to force Biden out of office by invoking the 25th Amendment was a series of increasingly negative polls on the president's standing against Trump that had been commissioned by the funders. So the negative poll results that Biden was continuing to get, that pushed some of this. So just keep that in mind. It wasn't just the debate. Everybody hearing this? Not just the debate. Polling would also be important for the vice president, I was told. And it was agreed that if the polls did not continue to show her gaining traction, other options would be considered, including an open convention. So this goes back to tell you when I told you that they were testing out Kamala Harris behind the scenes with other polls to see how she would do against Donald Trump. This was because, again, they knew that Biden was not going to be able to beat Donald Trump because of the polls, obviously. And then the debate performance really put the nail in the coffin. So they were quietly testing to see how Kamala would do against him. Back to the open convention portion. I was unable to learn if Harris was aware of such considerations or whether she intends to abide by them. Does everybody hear this part? Including an open convention. So what people have to understand is this. When Barack Obama told Joe Biden that Kamala is going to invoke the 25th Amendment, and he went on to tell him that he would not immediately endorse Kamala Harris, Joe Biden basically gave a little bit of a stab there at Barack Obama by trying to beat him at his own game. So what Joe Biden did is said, okay, you guys trying to push me out? Okay, fine. I'll go ahead and announce that I'm not going to seek re-election. But then what Joe Biden did on the sneak is he decided to go ahead and publicly and nominate Kamala Harris for the position and endorse her. So does everybody see what is happening? That was Joe Biden's way of getting back at Barack Obama. It has already been said that behind the scenes that Biden and his wife, Jill Biden, they did not want to do this. They were not happy about being forced out of re-election. So this was Joe Biden's way of getting back at Barack Obama, because he really was just kind of like, I don't know. It reminds me of the scene on Training Day, from Training Day. You guys remember Training Day? Remember when Denzel was like, you dirty motherfuckers, you want to turn on me? I'm the king around here. That's probably how Biden felt at that point, right? He was probably just like, you dirty mother. That's how he felt. So what did he decide to do? Fine. You don't want to endorse her right away? I'll endorse her to put pressure on you to endorse her immediately. Because everybody knew if Barack Obama didn't come out and endorse her, it would look suspect, right? Yeah. Now listen to this part. It gets crazier, fam. The official, who has decades of experience in fundraising, told me that Obama emerged as the strong man throughout the negotiations. He had an agenda and he wanted to seek it through to the end, and he wanted to have control over who would be elected. Highlighting this one for the win. He had an agenda and he wanted to seek it through to the end, and he wanted to have control over who would be elected. And that goes back to what I've been saying all this time, fam, which is Barack Obama behind the scenes was making damn decisions. I knew this. Now I just got it in writing. Making decisions, just like he said he would stay out of the Democrat race in 2020. Remember, he said he would stay out of that. Then behind the scenes, he was making phone calls telling people to drop out. Said he wouldn't publicly endorse anyone, but he made phone calls and told people to drop out to help Joe Biden. Barack Obama has been behind the scenes all the time, pulling the strings. It has been him. So now we have in writing that Barack Obama wanted to have control over who the nominee would be, but also over who would be elected. Sounds like the mafia. Everybody see this? This is crazy. Bam. Then it goes on to say, a few days after we talk with Harris getting off to a solid start, Obama and his wife announced their endorsement of Harris and told her over the phone in a staged TV event that they would do all they could to campaign for her and to support her, but she had better perform. As I said, let's give a shout out here to Seymour Hersh for dropping the big bang, leaving Las Vegas inside the last tortured days of the Biden campaign. And you can pull the mask off of the villain from the Scooby-Doo cartoon, and you can see it was Barack Obama all this time, which is exactly what I've been telling people. Once again, Barack Obama wants to be the one to decide who is elected. And apparently he did not believe, I told you days ago, he did not believe that Kamala Harris could beat Donald Trump, which is why he did not want to immediately endorse her. So Joe Biden turned around and said, I'm going to get you for this one for pushing me out. So I'm going to go ahead and make a public endorsement for Kamala Harris. So if you don't, everyone will call you out. Ain't this about a bitch? It was Obama all this time. So shout out to Seymour Hersh because, A, he brought us the story about the Nord Stream bombing, and now he's bringing us stories about what happened behind the scenes when Biden decided not to seek re-election. Biden really did not want to step down. This was not him trying to be courageous. He was pushed to do it. So Barack Obama forced his hand, and we're going to have to go over this one day. Maybe me and JB could talk about this sometime on the JB and Sabby show, because you got to get into Obama's background. I have a whole article about this, about how his family was CIA and all that kind of stuff. And it explains a lot of things as to how he can make these decisions. And no, that's not a conspiracy. This is already fact and has been proven. So people need to start paying attention to what's going on. Bernie Sanders never stood a chance. Regardless of how he was polling, he never stood a chance.